So 2 weeks ago, I was at the Arnold, and probably like a few days ago, I was looking at the weightlifting house recap of the Arnold, and I saw that Olivia Reeves snatched 125 kilos, right? And I was truly like laughing about this with my training partner because she snatches more than my training partner, right? And I was like, wait a second, I've talked to like what, like 1,000, 2,000 weightlifters through my social media. How many of them actually snatch more than Olivia Reeves, right? And we've came to the conclusion that because my training partner also works for me in that social media, we've come to the conclusion like 99.9% of male lifters do not snatch more than Olivia Reeves, right? And we were like, okay, why is this? And so we just sat down for like an hour just talking about it. And we realized it's not about genetics, it's not about body type, it's not about age, it's not about none of those things, right? Because if you want to bring genetics, yes, she has some insane genetics, right? But the average male has 15 to 20 times more testosterone than the average female, right? And then when you realize this, is like, yes, she has better genetics than me. Obviously, yes, she's one of the best female lifters of all time. But still, right? We are males and they are females because there's some rules of biology that you cannot change, right? We you can see in every single sport, males perform way better than females, simply because of genetics and biology, right? And so then we're like, okay, so if it's not genetics, like what is it, right? And you need to truly realize that Olivia Reeves, she has the same 24 hours as you and me, right? And I remember her saying that she only trains 5 times per week, right? Which is what the average weightlifter trains. Now, she might train 6 times per week or 4 times per week, it doesn't truly matter. But she pretty much trains the same amount of days as everyone else, right? And so we were like, why do 99.9% of weightlifters lift less than Olivia Reeves, right? Because we're like 15 to 20 times more testosterone, pretty much same amount of days trained. And so what is it? And we truly came to the conclusion, as always, that it's all about not about how many times per week you train, but what you do during those sessions, right? Now, I'm not saying that Olivia Reeves' training system is out of this world or whatever. What I'm saying is that it's perfectly crafted to her body type, to her genetics, and to her weaknesses. It's perfectly crafted, right? Because no other female in the United States have ever snatched nowhere close to those weights at that body weight, right? And so it all comes down to what she does during those training sessions. And if you try yourself to do the same thing she does, you're gonna end up injured or you're gonna end up, stuck at the same weights. So it's not about copying her training system, it's about copying the ideology behind it. Which the ideology behind it is that it's all about adaptation and customization, right? It needs to be completely adapted to your lifestyle and it needs to be adapted to your weaknesses and to your strengths. So most of you, you're either programming for yourself, which, you're not even a coach. And even if you're a coach, when you're training, you're not a coach, you're an athlete, right? Or you're just using some free programs from your CrossFit gym, which guys, I've been for over 10 years in multiple CrossFit gyms. 99.9% of CrossFit coaches have no clue about weightlifting, and 99.9% of weightlifting coaches have no clue about CrossFit, right? Okay, so that's first of all. So if you're in a CrossFit gym, right, and the CrossFit coach is teaching you weightlifting, up to a certain point, if you want to snatch more than Olivia Reeves as a male lifter, it's not gonna work, right? Because the coach himself doesn't snatch more than Olivia Reeves. You get what I'm saying? So it's like you're either programming for yourself or, using a BS free program, or simply you bought, some generic programs or simply you bought some generic programs online, right? Which is the same BS as having a CrossFit coach teaching you with lifting, because it's very, very generic, right? And so this is the biggest reason why most weightlifters, male weightlifters, snatch less than Olivia Reeves. It's simply because it's not genetics, because they have much more testosterone than her. It's not, body type or whatever else, excuse you find. It's simply because her training is super adapted to her. If it was not, she could not be lifting the weight she's lifting, right? So it's all about what separates. It's the training system. Because a lot of you, have you ever seen like Olivia Reeves injured? Not really, right? That comes from a good training system for some good recovery. A lot of you are injured all of the time, right? And that comes from the training system itself. It comes from the whole package. The warm-up protocol, the mobility protocol, the recovery protocols, they're not optimized for you, right? Because as I was saying on my Instagram a few days ago, I think it actually was yesterday, you don't have half of your life to sleep, right? You cannot sleep 12 hours per day, right? Which she might be doing. I have no clue. I've never talked to her, which she might be doing. But I don't have, I'm preparing the Olympic Games. I don't have 12 hours per day to sleep. I'm not going to sleep half of my life. Forget about that, right? I sleep somewhere between 6 to 8 hours per night, which is enough, right? But there are things outside of that sleep that I do that allow me to optimize my recovery, right? And that take much less time. You need to be sleeping half of your life. You don't need to do that, right? And so you need to find all of those little aspects, the recovery protocol, mobility protocol, warm-up protocols, training system adapted to your lifestyle. And all of those things is not your job as an athlete. It's the job of a coach. It's the job of a good coach. This is what separates an average coach with a good coach. I give all of this that, I'm telling you guys to every single one of my athletes. Those who snatch 25 kilos and those who snatch 140 kilos, right? And so you need to sit down with yourself and you need to be like, all right, so I'm programming by myself, or I have a CrossFit coach teaching me with lifting, right? Perfect logic, guys. Good job. And then I do weightlifting classes with a coach who's coaching 12 people at the same time, right? And then I'm asking myself, why have I not progressed for the past few months or years? Maybe the problem is me, right? Maybe the problem is me. Is that I haven't invested in myself, therefore, I'm not seeing the results that I want. So invest in yourself. Coaching, physiotherapy, recovery, nice food, all of those things are investments that are going to come back to you monetarily, in terms of energy, because guess what? You invest in yourself, in the physio, in the right training system, and in the right coaching. You're going to feel more strong, more confident, which is going to allow you to perform better at your job or at your business. So you're going to eventually get that promotion and you're eventually going to scale your business. The better my training goes, the better my business goes, right? And my business and how much I lift have no direct correlation with each other, but they have an indirect correlation in terms of when my training is going well, I feel high testosterone, I feel high energy, and I feel strong and confident, right? Which allows me to scale my business way easier, 10 times faster, right? So sit down and ask yourself, when is it that I'm going to start investing in myself? And when is it that I'm going to get an actual good coach, gives me that training system, that mobility protocol, that warm-up protocol, that recovery protocol, all of those things that are going to allow me to have a training system custom to my lifestyle so I can add 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 kilos to my total and finally snatch more than Olivia Reeves, right? And by the way, Olivia Reeves is freaking out of this world. 125 kilo snatch is wild. But yeah, guys, see you on the next one.